Howdy, Zach. We'll get started here in just a minute. A little bit unusual time for us for our virtual tasting of the featured effin' beer of the week, but it's better than not doing it. So we'll be doing this week's featured beer is Big Beaver. It's an English bitter, but an Imperial version. So this will be exciting beer to talk about. We brewed it one other time. We brewed it back on batch 1500, and this particular one was batch about 1990. So we're talking about a lot of different beers since then. So Big Beaver, Imperial English Bitter. So our original beer that we first made, which was last weekend 11 years ago, was Beaver, and it still is on our tap list weekly, and it's one of our most popular beers. It's always on tap. It's an English bitter. It's the essential session beer because it's only 3.4% alcohol and 34 IBUs, but it's got full flavor, nice toasty, roasty tones, and a lot of fulfillment for a lower alcohol beer. One you can drink several of and still function well. So this is the Imperial version of it. Pretty much the same type of ingredients, but different mixes on the percentages and how we brew just a little bit. So this is 6.4% alcohol, Big Beaver. It has 57 IBUs. So we have 3 malts in it, the same 3 malts we do for Beaver. Crisp Maris Otter, which is our base malt. 90% of the malt bill is that malt, and it's 34 pounds in our half barrel batch, which is 15.5 gallons. We have 2 pounds each of crisp 77 crystal malt. 77 is the color of the darkness of scale. Adds a little bit of sweetness. And then we have 2 pounds also of Castle Belgian biscuit malt, which is 2 pounds or another 5%. And that's the whole malt bill. We grind the malts and we mash it in at 156 degrees, a little bit warmer than we do Beaver. We want bigger mouthfeel, bigger flavor. There's a bigger beer, we want a bigger impact on how it feels in the mouth. At 156 for 60 minutes, and then we sparge it with 170 degree water. We strip all the sugars off the husk grains, and we collect it in our boil kettle and boil it for 1 hour. Once the boil is started, at 60 minutes, we add 6 ounces of UK Fuggles, and that gives us 32 IBUs into the batch. Then at 30 minutes, we're adding both 4 ounces of UK Fuggles and Willamette hops, and we're getting about 17 more IBUs out of that. And then with 15 minutes left, we're adding 4 ounces of UK Goldings to give us another 10 IBUs. At the end of the boil, we transfer it into our fermenter at 65 degrees, and we use Fuller's the Fuller's yeast, which is White Labs 002, and we ferments for 2 weeks, and we don't let it get past 68 degrees. And after 2 weeks, it goes into secondary fermentation, and it's at 32 degrees for another 2 weeks. The result is this beautiful looking beer. And this beer has got a nice, I call it a copper color to it. It's got a little bit of haze to it, but not much. It's got pretty good clarity, but it's got just a little touch of haze. And the color's at 12.1 on the SRM scale. So it's got some nice, beautiful tones to it, complemented with a nice, beautiful white head on it, and it's a delicious looking treat in this glass. So let's take a smell. And it's big. It's all about the malts here. So it's a big, biscuity, little sweetness to it. It's very inviting, and it says you need a taste. And I'll tell you before I taste it, this would be an outstanding beer on cask, and I wish we could do this. Maybe we'll do it sometime when we can reopen the tasting room and have this on for cask. Well, everything that I think of when I think of Bit of Beaver, all those nice biscuit, toasty, bready characters are there, but much more of it. Just making it, it's almost mouth-watering because it feels like you're having, you know, right out of the oven, some nice biscuits that came out. You popped them open, and they're warm, and they've got that beautiful taste to it and flavor. And that's what this really has. You know, at 57 IBUs, although they're English hops, it's got a nice firm dryness on the end, kind of an earthy bitterness, but not really overwhelming. It's really about the malt on this beer, and it's all about beautiful biscuity, bready tones. Not really a toasted, but it's those fresh out of the oven, flaky biscuits. You know, this would really go good with on the side if you're having a biscuit with some, you know, butter and some orange marmalade. It'd be great because I'm picking up some essence of some fruit flavors, maybe a little orangeness, maybe a little apricot, little marmalade tones in there in that background, and that's just giving me some really good. Now, I poured this just a few minutes ago at 40 degrees, and in the garage here, it's probably 40 degrees, so it's not going to warm up. But I think this would be great warming up to about between 48 and 52 degrees. I think it'd be awesome. It's pretty awesome right now. So let me move this a little bit closer, and I can maybe see who's here and see if we got any questions. And I'll be right here. So we've got, well, let's welcome everybody. We've got Zach, we've got Kim, Daniel, Chip, Jerry, another Zach, Dan, Rose, Jeff, Frank, and Rose. So, let's see. A late tasting is better than no tasting. Well, I agree. And there's never a bad time for a really good beer. And this is going to be a beer that I'm sure everybody's going to want to get growler fills this weekend, Friday and Saturday, 4 to 5 p.m. Make sure you pre-order those at the foggynogginbrewing.com website. Hit the beer tab. All the details are there. And we got Dan and Lee, Jeff, Frank. Let's see. So do you think it's mouth-watering because it activates your savory taste buds? Absolutely. I think it's a combination of this wonderful aroma on it that sets you up, and when you taste it, you're thinking, it brings back memories of things. I mean, I remember my grandmother making warm biscuits right out of the oven, and you know, being the first one to open up when it's still warm and the butter just melts all over it. Those are the best. And do you pick up those orange marmalade flavors with all the regular Beaver? I get some of it, but not to the intensity of this. I get more of the apricot in the Bit of Beaver. It's the same yeast in here, and I just think because it's higher alcohol, it's bringing out more flavors into it. So I don't get that orange marmalade really out of the regular Beaver. Rose says, sounds amazing. It really is. And you know, I'm drinking this. I go, why don't we brew this more often? It's delicious. And maybe we will have to just brew more often, have it rotating through our beers. Do you get the right temperature? To get the right temperature, how early would you pour it before you drink it? Well, if I was going to take this inside, I think about pouring it at 40 degrees, which is typically what a refrigerator is. So if you had your growler in your fridge and you pour it in your glass and you brought it inside, I'm saying anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes. And I think I would wait 15 minutes and start drinking it. It's also going to kind of degas it because, first of all, on this beer, we carbonate to 1.5 volumes, which is very traditional English. So it doesn't have the harshness of being more carbonated. It brings out those gentle flavors of it without having a distraction to it. It'll dissipate a little bit sitting there for 15 minutes, and it'll even make that even more enjoyable. Much more like a cask version. Frank says he wants one. Well, you have to come Friday or Saturday and get a growler, Frank, and you could take it home and enjoy it, and I'm sure this is going to be a crowd favorite. Kevin says, sounds like great, Jim. I know, Kevin, one of your favorite beers is Bit of Beaver, and if you like Bit of Beaver, this is Bit of Beaver on steroids, and it's all the great things of Beaver, but just more of it, and to the point where it's like, I don't know why we don't make this more. Is the English Imperial Bitter a beer style that I could find somewhere else, or could it be categorized as ESB? I've never heard anyone doing an Imperial English bitter before we did ours, and back a few years ago. And it's not like an ESB. This is going to be much more on the subtle range, much more elegant, much more simple, because there's only 3 malts in here, and it's got that simpleness which makes it even better because you can taste each little ingredient in there. And an ESB is going to be much more bitter. It's going to be much more bold and rich on it. Where this has got that elegance of it, and just being really, I'd say that biscuity is the best character on it. And I mean, who doesn't like a fresh biscuit out of the oven? Zach says, "Where was the last time you did Big Beaver?" I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago, and we've only done one other time. So this is the second time we've done this beer. Have you ever done a deconstruction of a beer for Beaver? My dad had the idea of having us taste the water in those events. Well, yeah. So we did do a deconstruction of a couple beers, and Beaver was one of them. And so when we do that, is we let you taste all the ingredients that goes in here. So in this beer, there'll be 3 different malts, and you get to chew on those malts, and you get to taste what those really taste like. And then you get to smell those hops and rub them in your hands, and you get to see what they really smell like. You can taste what you want, but they're pretty stringent when you're tasting hops directly like that. And then we give you the recipe. So in this one, you take basically you take about 18 kernels of the Maris Otter, and you take 2 of the biscuit and 2 of the crisp 77 crystal malt, and put them in your mouth and chew them together, and you're going to get all those flavors from the Maris Otter primarily, and that's going to be that biscuity, but that the Belgian biscuit is going to add a little bit more of a aroma kind of to it, and you're going to get that kind of perfumey kind of character out of that malt, and then the crisp 77 crystal gives you some of that sweetness, and all those together just blend so well. What are your thoughts in aging this beer? Being at 6.4%, you're on the low end of being a great aging beer, and I think it's so fresh and so good now. I think this is a beer I would want to drink fresh, and I don't think that I would really want to be aging this, because I think it's too good now, and I don't think I'd really want it hanging around so long so that it would be aged. So that would be my thoughts on it. I would drink it fresh now, and I think I'd pass on aging, but if you're interested in it, you could try aging some of it, but it's just really, really good now, and I don't know why you'd want to make this not as good. So if you notice, we had this little Beaver here. This is a beautiful Beaver with a nice color palette on it that my granddaughter Mary made for me, and this is a special Beaver. This is not a big Beaver because he's only that big, and the glass is this big, so you can see that's not a big Beaver, but it goes really well with this beer. And this time, 9 o'clock, it was a conflict with my day schedule, and I thought it'd be better to delay it than not do it at all. So I'm glad for everybody who is joining in tonight. So David, welcome. He's a visitor from of FN from Boston. He loves my beers and enjoying the discussion. So yeah, well, welcome, and tuning in all the way from Boston. It's too bad you can't get our beers in Boston, but if you ever get out this way, make sure you look us up, and hopefully we'll have our tasting room open when you come out here. If not, you'll have to do curbside pickup until that point. Zach says, hey, well, good thing it won't be around for long then, in no small part due to how much of he's going to drink. Well, that's, we make it so you can drink it. And welcome Wade, who just joined. So let's go ahead and go over this beer one more time here. So Big Beaver Imperial English Bitter, 6.4% alcohol by volume and 57 IBUs. That's the International Bittering Unit. We've got a half barrel batch, 50.5 gallons, and here's the ingredients that we put in this. We put in 34 pounds of crisp Maris Otter, 2 pounds each of Castle Belgian biscuit and crisp 77L crystal malt. mashed it at 156 degrees for 1 hour, sparged it with 170 degree water, and collected our grains, all of our liquid sugars, and we boiled it for 1 hour. And we added, at 60 minutes, we added UK Fuggles, 6 ounces. And at 30 minutes, we added 4 ounces each of Willamette and UK Fuggles. And at 15 minutes left, 4 ounces of UK Goldings. And we moved it into our fermenter at 65 degrees, let it rise to 68. London water and WLP002, the Fuller's yeast strain, is our yeast. We then, after 2 weeks of fermentation, put it in secondary at 32 degrees. And that was there for 2 weeks. And then we put it in kegs, forced carbonate to 1.5 volumes, and voila, is what we've got, is this outstanding Big Beaver. David says, friends and random bootleggers from Seattle and Bothell. Well, welcome. You might be able to get some of this then. Zach says, David, come visit the effing brewery this summer after the pandemic's over. Jim's backyard is beautiful during the summer. Well, we hope we have a great summer. We hope the pandemic will be over so summer can be something kind of normal again. That'd be kind of really neat to be able to open up and have people enjoy beers here and renew their friendships with their beer drinking buddies and make new friends and just have a good time with some good old-fashioned English inspired ales. So if there's no more questions, I appreciate you guys all tuning in. We're going to have a happiest half hour tomorrow night at 5:30, and that's going to be our regular time, so we'll be back on, and that's some piano, some music, some singing, and just some great fun. It's the official start of the weekend. So tomorrow, 5:30 on Facebook Live. How do you get your Foggy Noggin beer this weekend? It's all curbside pickup, both Friday and Saturday, 4 to 5 p.m., where you can get growler fills, bottles, Foggy Noggin merchandise like this cool hat or shirt. And you hit the foggynogginbrewing.com website, hit the beer tab, all the details are there. So it's all pre-ordered, prepaid, and when you pull up, it's we'll put it in your back seat or your trunk, wherever makes you most comfortable. So let's see, we have Robert Carr just joined. So Robert, if you're going to want to watch the tasting again, it's going to be archived on our Facebook page real soon. David says, been there on a very in-hospital December Saturday a while back. Great lunch too. And Lisa, welcome. And Zach says, how much fogged in do you have left, if any? And do we have any fogged in left? I think we might have a little bit. So I'm going to update the beer tab with some of these very limited that have only a couple growlers left, so you'll know what you have. So when you order, so tomorrow, if you take a look, it'll be updated sometime tomorrow, and you can find out, because I think for the effing Xmas tree, there might be 1 growler left, and there might be I think there might be 2 or 3 fogged ins left. So that might be interesting for you guys to pick those if you haven't had it. I know Zach's probably a big fogged in fan, because he sent me a message on him when he tasted it, so he thought it was inspiring beer at the least. So thanks for joining. Join us tomorrow night for the happiest half hour at 5:30 on Facebook Live, and then we'll see you this weekend for curbside pickup. So thanks for joining, and we'll archive this so you can watch it all over again. Cheers, everyone.